Hello everybody, I'm Razorblade Mango, and I am here today to give my first impressions on the latest PlayStation 4 exclusive, Until Dawn. Now, some interesting history about Until Dawn. This actually started out as a PlayStation Move game that was eventually taken back to the drawing board and remade as a PlayStation 4 game, since the PlayStation Move really sold like shit and it died pretty badly back in the day, which is a very smart move on their part because I can imagine this not being that fun of a move game. It works better definitely with a controller. And this is by Supermassive Games, and they're known for like some PlayStation Move games that really nobody honestly cared about. So this is their first big AAA budget game effort, and it's not bad. It's actually not bad for what I expected it to be. Honestly, from all the stuff that I've read about it and all the trailers that I've seen, I expected this to be rather mediocre or just bleh. But I must admit, this is not bad, especially for a studio that has just mostly done PlayStation Move games. Maybe it's just they're working with, maybe it's their experience with motion control stuff that they actually know how to do QuickTime events decently, and it doesn't annoy the hell out of me like in something like the Order 1886. Which, speaking of the Order 1886, I'm going to address something about this game. This game came out today, but honestly, if you hadn't been paying attention to Sony's forums, you probably wouldn't even know that unless you knew about the game ahead of time, because this thing got dumped out in the cold and left to die on a day like today. Because today you had stuff like huge heavy hitters like Madden 16 come out, and you had Gears of War Ultimate Edition come out as well. Two big games that people were looking forward to. And while it's odd that this was so poorly stocked in stores, I actually stopped by a couple of stores on my way to work, because I work in a mall area. And when I stopped in and asked them, how many copies of the game that they had, or just to check it out, my local GameStop only had 2 copies. 2! On release day. 2 copies. I go over to Best Buy. 4 copies. I go over to Target. 3 copies. Or 3 or 4. They're not stocking this thing well. They're just letting it die. They're just dumping it out like it's some kind of nothing. Like it's just a bullshit exclusive. I saw them put more marketing buff and stocking behind the Order 1886, which is a significantly inferior game. And I can guess why the marketing for this game, or not the marketing, but the release for this game has just been so underwhelmingly stocked, is that they were scared that this was going to get the same kind of reception that the Order did. And I'm not saying the Order did what got savagely torn apart by critics or even financially bombed. Yes, it was a disappointment on both ends, but they were scared that it was going to be something like that. And honestly, I kind of don't blame them, because a lot of the trailers I'd seen from it and a lot of the gameplay did give me a very, Quantic Dream, the Order 1886 vibe, where honestly, after the Order, I'm sick to death of button prompts, and the only time I'll accept them nowadays is in the Telltale stuff. And anywhere else, it's kind of just, ugh. But I think the difference with Until Dawn, and it's surprisingly decent for something that Sony just crapped out and just left to die out on today, is that the QuickTime events actually get my heart going in this game. When it's a big action scene, sometimes they are distracting. Like if you're simply just trying to pick up an option, there's one too many button prompts for that, and that can kind of just be a very minor annoyance that just keeps stacking. I like the QuickTime events during the big chase scenes or the more gore-filled moments. because it drives home this sense of urgency, and it isn't annoying or distracting like it is in the Order 1886, where they overuse QuickTime events in the Order 1886 to a comical degree. And I think this ties back into what I said about the Order, is that the Order is trying to create a cinematic experience, and yet it not only is it doing it badly on a visual and on a visual end with the bullshit widescreen effect, it's that the game constantly reminds you that it's a game. It's not a movie. It's a game where you have to press a ton of buttons over and over and over again, and it's very repetitive, very just linear. And then you get to something like Until Dawn, which is occasionally it shifts from the widescreen to the full screen. But the difference with Until Dawn and the Order 1886 is Until Dawn actually earns that movie quality experience because it doesn't try. It actually combines a more cinematic experience with it being an actual intriguing game, and the story is worth investing in. And I don't give a shit about any, with the exception of maybe one or two. I don't give a shit about any of these people in the game, and frankly, I wouldn't feel any differently if they were just had their heads hacked off or whatever. Especially some of them, which there's one. I think her name is Emily. That one character in the game. Oh my god! Every time she opens her mouth, I just want to just grab her by the shoulders and shake her and just say, "Shut up! Just shut the fuck up! Just shut up!" Yeah, she gets on your nerves really quick. She's horrible. But the story, at least the story at hand, the mystery behind what's going on, actually is rather interesting, and it's slowly revealing its secrets, and it's actually building on the story and what's going to happen. And from what I hear, it actually does have some pretty interesting twists and mysteries that are being kept secret from all the trailers and everything. And I'm not going to spoil them here, don't worry. But I have that investment in the game, which is good, because usually whenever I play a game, I have to have that investment. Like the Order 1886, I didn't give a shit about that. So the 6 to 7 hour run through that I went through felt like an eternity, because there's nothing to latch onto. And with Until Dawn, there is that mystery that is keeping me going throughout the game. And from a design point, it looks great. The facial animation can get a bit weird, and it's kind of the dead soulless eyes do pop up every so often, and it is a bit distracting. But the acting is good. The writing, is pretty typical standard horror movie teen slasher cliche stuff. And the score is very good. I think Jason Graves did the score, who weirdly enough did the score for the Order 1886 as well. Let me check that out. Yes, he did. He did the score for the Order 1886, which was one of the best parts of the game. And unfortunately, a good score was just attached to such a lackluster, bad game. Fortunately, here, his score is used to a good effect, to where it actually does ratchet up the tension at times, especially during the chase sequences and the more horror-filled scenes. And it's a good score. Really good score. But another thing I quite like about this game is that I feel like my choices actually matter. There's a lot of choose-your-own-adventure games out there. And yes, they do the same thing in Until Dawn, where some choices, no matter what happens, will always lead to a different result. Well, always lead to this, not different. Always will lead to the same result, but they do it significantly less than even like Telltale, which I think Telltale does that more than this game does. This game, it's like the littlest things that happen will I actually feel like I'm impacting this world, and the characters that have been killed so far were actually based on the decisions that I made, and not through the story choosing to be like, hey, this character is going to die, and there's no way you can save her or him. And I like that. I really like that. And I wish more games would go to that complex level of actually building this web of choices, like I feel like there is in Until Dawn. And one of the things I most admire about it is that it knows exactly what it wants to be, and it's unashamed about it. It never feels like it's constantly just, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, like a friend of mine likes to say, an ironic detachment. No, this thing is all in. It understands what it is, but it goes full out with it, with no shame whatsoever. And, based on your personally what you like about horror, honestly, in my opinion, I am not a big fan of teen slasher stuff. I can get into it, sure. And there are quite a few teen slasher horror movies out there that I quite like. But I think that can be, and they overuse jump scares a lot in this game. And I know that's a trope of the genre, but especially when a lot of what happens in the game and the way that the camera is positioned, you can see a lot of the jump scares coming a mile away. And sometimes it does start to get a little irritating at times, because you're trying to get into the game and these like constant just keep jumping out at you. And I think like there was a scene where in like the span of like 2 minutes they had like 4 jump scares. And like on like the 3rd jump scare, I was just like, okay, I'm not even reacting anymore, because anybody can do a jump scare. Anybody can. And I will admit, there are a few good jump scares in this game. It's just that most of them just feel really bleh. They're just not. I like horror that is more based on atmosphere and tension and the use of silence to make something scarier. Like, and I know I'm gonna get another like, oh boy, he's talking about that game again. PT, I've been so spoiled by PT, and even not even just talk about PT. Outlast, which I think is an excellent horror game, and of course, I react better and far more. I'm more frightened by first-person horror, because I actually feel like I'm in the situation and there's no way out of it. But I think from a third-person perspective in this game, there is a little bit of that detachment from the scares, because you can see how the game is kind of positioning the camera to where a jump scare could come out of, or like there's literally a point where a character looks through like some binoculars to check something out, and like right away I saw the button prompt for that, and I went, there's gonna be a jump scare where something's gonna pop out right in front of the lens, and sure enough, that happens. Not once, but twice. The 2 times they do that, both times there's somebody going, ah! Just jumping in front of the lens, and I'm just like, like, alright guys, I know. I know. Okay? Fine. I knew that was coming. But there are some good ones. I'm trying to think of some good ones. Without spoiling anything. God damn, I can't really talk about the good jump scares without giving away some of the like spoilers of the game, so I'm not going to talk about it. Let's just take my word for it. There are some good jump scares in this game. It's just most of them I did not respond to. Now, another thing that I like about the game is that it has a lot. It takes a lot of influence, of course, from the teen slasher movies, but it also has this element of torture porn to it, and I mean that in a good way, where there very obvious Saw influence in a few sequences, which again I won't spoil, but I actually like how a lot of the morality play goes into these scenes, and when you make decisions based on who lives or dies, surprising things will happen. There was a sequence where I had to choose between, it was a selection of like who lives, who dies, and this was because of my own dumbassery, is that I was like, sorry, I gotta kill this person, and then I like did the button prompt, but I did it accidentally to where it killed the other person that I was gonna let live, and then when that happened, even the character reacted like, oh shit, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that, I'm sorry, and I liked that. I thought that was a cool little thing, involved. It gets you a little bit more invested when your choices and what you're feeling in the moment are actually reflected in the characters that are making those. You're making those decisions for them, and that's fucking cool. That's something I think more games should do, because it adds this level of, it adds identifiability to it, and it's cool. And afterwards, like, the person that I told, sorry, you gotta go, it's the other person that I'm gonna save, now they're pissed off at me and don't want to talk to me because I promised the other guy that I'd save him, and then I ended up killing the other guy, and now this person is going, what the fuck? You said you were gonna kill me, fuck you, get away from me. And I really like that. I think that's cool. And, you know what? The more I talk about this game, the more I actually start to like it. And I'm actually excited. I'm actually excited to get back in and play it. But there are some problems that I will address. I think it has a little bit too much exploring. This is from a personal standpoint. I think it would have benefited more if they'd kind of cut back on the exploring just a tad, just to kind of drive the story along, because it's a few bumps in the road as far as pacing goes, where you've had this gigantic action scene and then it's like forcing you, oh well, you gotta find the key, you gotta find the pass, which is like, okay. And there's even a character that goes, fucking really, like verbatim, fucking really, I have to find a key for this shit? God damn it! And I was like, yeah, god damn it. But yeah, it's a good game. I'm liking it so far, and thank God this is a good game, because the PS4 needs some noteworthy exclusives. Not only just this year, but in general, because they really haven't done that many. I mean, the most I can think of is again Bloodborne, which is my favorite, PT, and Infamous Second Son, and to an extent, Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, kind of. And now this, which so far, I think this is a quality PlayStation 4 exclusive. But, do I think it's worth $60? That depends. If you're like me, and you're not a big fan of these, like, teen slasher kind of things, I'd recommend you maybe wait for it to go down in price, or buy a used copy of it, or rent it from your local game store, or Redbox, or wherever. Redbox is where I got it. So I didn't have to pay a dime for it thanks to a credit. But I would honestly, if I had paid maybe $40 for it, 45, I'd have no problem with that. I would have no problem with that. I just don't think so far, and I could change my mind after the game is over, because I am definitely looking forward to, once I beat it, to go back and play through it again to see, make different decisions this time. So, Until Dawn. It's not bad. It's a good game. You guys should go out and give it the chance it deserves, because if you want to go by what Sony's doing, they want you to forget that this game exists, which is pretty shitty of them. But don't forget this exists, because this is much better than the Order 1886. It's not Bloodborne. Bloodborne is still my favorite PlayStation 4 exclusive yet. But Until Dawn, pretty good horror game for what it is. It's not bad. It's good, and I like it. And yeah, that's all I gotta say about that. Alright guys, thank you guys for watching. If you like what you see, subscribe. If you played Until Dawn, let me know what you think about it. Please don't spoil what happens for me. I really want to know. I want to find out on my own. If you dislike it, tell me why. If you're looking forward to it, let me know if I've done any, because I want to get the word about this game. I do like it, and making this video has made me realize how much I like it. Because originally when I went into this, I was like, yeah, it's okay, it's fine. But now I'm like, you know what? This is actually pretty good. It's solid. And to be honest, I'm liking it more than some of the other games that I thought were going to make my top 10 list of the year, like Mortal Kombat X and Batman Arkham Knight. Never in a million years did I expect to say I like Until Dawn more than Batman Arkham Knight. It's weird how things turn out. So anyway, thank you guys for watching, and have a good one.